iRacing Season 4 update is now here. In this video, let's talk about some of the headline content, let's talk about some of the smaller changes, and let's talk about the different things that have come up from it as well. Because I've got a couple of ideas. Let's start off with what I feel is a headline content. Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez, the Mexico City circuit. The host of the Mexico City Grand Prix, the host of a NASCAR race this season, the first time for the Cup Series, as well as a potential future host for IndyCar, though unfortunately it has been confirmed not for 2026. This circuit has been added to iRacing with 7 different layouts, and whilst 4 of them are quite similar, there's the Grand Prix and the Grand Prix Historic with the old full Peraltada, likewise the National and National Historic with the old full Peraltada. Those tracks have a lot of similarity to them. Not only do you have to just pair it off and you just have the final section be different, but also with the national one, all it does is cut out that little triangle at the top of the circuit that F1 has. It's the NASCAR layout of the national one. The other 3 layouts are of interest though. One of them is the oval. A left-turning oval. It's nice to have that included. It's a flat oval. It spans a distance of 1 mile. I mean, there is some banking, but it's very little, especially compared to some other ovals that you have in the iRacing service. There's also the oval stadium, which goes in the opposite direction. It has the stadium section in the middle of it. But the layout that stood out to me most is the EV circuit. It's the Formula E circuit. It is the current Formula E circuit with 19 listed corners. It's a lot of fun to drive, but what it stands out to me about is I feel like there must be a future Formula E thing coming. I mean, we're getting the Miami Autodrome, and I'm assuming we're going to get an EV circuit in that as well, because Formula E is going to run a slightly different layout to the Grand Prix in Miami. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking out loud at the moment with that. Now, let's start off with the newest GT3 on the service. I am slightly biased by going with the GT3, but I will talk about why I've gone with that first in a moment. The Aston Martin GT3 Evo. It's nice to have an Aston GT3 in iRacing now, because we've had the GT4 for quite a while. We've obviously had the GT1 for forever. But this has been a car that's been rumored for so long that the one that was the one that was going to be added to the service got replaced. I reckon we're going to see something similar with the Lexus, by the way. I don't reckon we will see the RCF. We'll probably see the replacement for it first at this rate. But it's nice to have. The Evo is, by the way, I think only in this and Rennsport, isn't it? Or no, it's made its way into LMU. But it's nice to have this, to have a kind of complete roster, especially considering that it does get use in various GT series the world over. I know it's been worked on for a while, so that's why I'm happy to see it. Hopefully we see a wider partnership, a bit like how I've been hoping that the Ferrari partnership will give us a Ferrari F1 car. Maybe we get an Adrian Newey car, please, please, please. But it also comes as part of a collection with 2 other cars. One of them is a GT4. The Ford Mustang GT4, to be specific. It's nice to have a 5-litre V8 in the GT4 lineup. It's a bit like how you have the Camaro GT4 in ACC. And in terms of similarities to other GT4s, it's a bit like that. It's a bit like the BMW. You know, a big, heavy front-engine car. It likes curbs. It's quite nice to manhandle. It does have a limit, and a limit that you can go over. But bear in mind that it's coming in as you've got a wider overhaul to the GT4 class with how the cars work. So, if you're finding that you're caught out by the Mustang, you might also find that if you jump across to your old familiar GT4, that you're suddenly struggling with that one as well. Like I say, it's good to have more variety in the class, and especially to have more recent GT4s being added into the simulator all of the time. Be interesting to see where it goes next though. Could we get an Artura? Could we get the new Lotus? could we get even more as the GT4 class continues to gain popularity? But to cars from as recent as 2025 to one of the older cars on the service. It's weird because it's a brand new car to iRacing, but it is one of the older cars you're going to see in active rotation, the Dallara IL-15, the Indy Next car. It was first introduced in 2015, and yes, it does have a halo on it now, but this mini Indy car has been going around for almost as long as the DW12. Granted, on iRacing we have it as the IR18 as well, because there was the overhaul for 2018. But there are elements of it that do feel quite a bit dated. I mean, when you look at the bodywork, it just feels very DW12, but it also just feels mini IndyCar. And that's kind of how it handles. It feels like an IndyCar with less power and less downforce. It is faster than an F4 and faster than a Super Formula Light as well, as you can see from the Little Wing stuff that's been going on over the course of the week. But I think the problem that the IL-15 is going to have is where it fits in the bracket. I mean, if you have a look at the schedule for next year, if we go to the Formula class, you will see that the Indy Next series comes in at C class. At the same point as Super Formula Light, same point as the Dallara F3, at the same point as the likes of the Formula IRs, the IR01, but it is also the rung above the old US F2000, the Skip Barber, and all of the F4 stuff. The problem that you have for Formula cars in the iRacing service is it is quite saturated at that level. I know a lot of people who do Super Formula. I know a lot of people who do IndyCar. I don't know people who do Super Formula Light. I don't know people who do the old F3s that much anymore. I'm the only one in my group of people who do iRacing who does the F4s. My friends who ran the Skippies don't run them anymore. The same with those who ran the US F2000. They have gone on to newer things. They've gone on to different things. They've actually largely got across to prototype racing. So, whilst it is cool to have this on here, and it's probably part of a wider licensing deal with IndyCar, and it's going to tie in with the upcoming IndyCar game that we get, next year? It also feels like one that's going to be great for maybe a season or two. But at the end of the day, it's just not going to have the same longevity. It's not going to have the same staying power and support as something like the F4s, because, well, I mean, the F4s are supported by the ASNs and the FIA. But in addition to that, we do get a lot of new content in terms of track overhauls. Those tracks that I did a video on ages ago, getting a full update, have now gotten their update, which means that you lose all of your stuff for the old Charlottes, both 2008 and 2018, as well as the old Sonoma, and I think the old Gateway Oval. There are some bits that got an artwork refresh, I'll talk about that in a moment, but the new tracks, the new scans, they are nice. The new Charlotte is nice. It's nice to have that Roval from 2024. It's good to finally have that on the service, especially because it was built using CAD from iRacing. It's a different beast, not least because of the new hairpin section, but also the reprofiling of the corners, especially that final chicane. That is completely different to handle now. That said, if you do miss the 2008 version, there is a bit of similarity in the no chicanes layout, but do remember, as I forgot before I jumped in with the IR18, there is no no lighting on the infield. Sonoma is quite nice. An additional layout that we've got with this build is the actual, well, mini oval that they have around the final corner, or final proper corner of Sonoma. That is fun to have. It's not in active use at the moment, probably because of all the tile bales on the inside, but it would be nice to see a couple of series run it at some point. Maybe mods, maybe the Ford Legends. I don't know. It is nice that in the changes, whilst the Sonoma Rallycross did stay the same, the iRacing developers have made the most of the reprofile of the infield to make a new Rallycross for Charlotte. Whilst I did enjoy the old one, and I would have liked to have kept the replays for it, this new one is narrower, it's tighter, it's going to produce some interesting racing. Hopefully less sliding into people and using people to lean on to put them into a tyre barrier to make an overtake. A track that has a slightly different picture to Sonoma and Charlotte is North Wilkesboro. We get the current version of it. It's nice to have that on there, and I see it already is getting some rotational use within things like modifieds. It's going to be a lot of fun to blast around it, and it creates a different kind of picture to the 1987 version. I hope the 87 version still gets quite a bit of use, but it is cool to have the racing under the floodlights. It's cool to have something like that, because you can't do that currently on the 87 version. And then we have the tracks that have gotten some refreshes. I think the one that stands out for me most is Alton Park. And that stands out for me because, well, I've been to Alton Park. It is in the UK. But also because it is just a refresh. It's not a rescan. And one of the things that stood out for me in that case was a lot of my friends who were talking about it were pointing out that there's no AstroTurf at the end of the Cascades. And that's because it is just a refresh, it's not a full rescan. If it was a rescan, it would include that, but you can still use your old replays for Alton Park, I believe. It's just to try and make it look more up to date, and to use more of the graphics engine that iRacing has now. It's nice. It looks pretty, it looks the part. But there are some bits that stand out for me that I kind of wish, would be changed. One of the big ones that I know Matt212, who I enjoy his rally and iRacing content, pointed out is that he doesn't like the tyre barriers, the ones that are on the apex, the ones that you can just hit and they just spit you into another car. I would quite like to see changes around that stuff. Maybe not necessarily the ATC one where you can just use it as a prop to launch into another car, even though that is very funny. But I don't know, they have a really good game time mechanism. So maybe make the most of that. I should probably also, while I'm here, talk about the new UI. I haven't had too much time using it. It is nice. It does the same stuff the old one did. It looks nicer, and there are some bits that are a bit more user-friendly, like how the graphic for the tyres also has the percentages shown on a bar chart. That is good to have. The only thing that I'm upset with, as you can see throughout the video, is the iRacing logo is much more embedded in the bottom right corner. If someone can figure out how to turn that one off, please do tell me. I have a feeling, unfortunately, that the UI transparency that is on that is tied to the UI transparency for the drive mode, rather than the one for the overlay in the replay mode. But if you do know, please do let me know, because I would quite like to have that cropped out where I can. I don't get why iRacing do it. I'm much happier that they're doing it with the current logo now, and it's smaller just in the bottom right, rather than a massive iRacing.com that takes up 10% of the screen. But I'd still rather have the option to switch it off. It's like in the F1 games. If I'm taking a photo of the F1 game, I don't want to have a little watermark, the EAF125. It's not nice. But either way, there is something for everyone in these new updates for iRacing for 2025 Season 4. I hope that there's going to be something new that comes as well. I do reckon it's probably going to be something like Formula E. I didn't really talk about it because I didn't get enough experience with it to properly talk about it for this video, but there has been a big hybrid overhaul. It is different depending on which cars you're in now, so the GTPs have a different way of behaving compared to the F1 car, compared to the Indy car when the Indy car actually gets its hybrid. or compared to the old McLaren F1 car. I believe they're looking at potentially doing some stuff for the old LMP ones as well. Though I reckon they'll probably do that if we get the LMP ones back in a rotational series. It'll be nice to see something else like Formula E be added to the service. I reckon that that's probably what could come next. We do actually have a Formula E track here now. We have close enough to one with Mazzano, and we are going to be getting another one when it comes to the Miami Autodrome. We do also have another one that is close enough when it comes to Homestead too. Right now, it is in R Factor, but given that we've just had a Formula E track added into iRacing, unless it's going to get used for like the Mission R's, which it currently isn't, I don't see any other way that it could be used apart from with Formula E. But that's that for this video, folks. If you did enjoy, do let me know in the comment section down below. If you have anything else you want me to talk about on this channel, do let me know as well. I've got a couple of videos in the works. Some things to do with different new games and also new pieces of content that are going to be dropping for different titles in the coming weeks and months, but also some different retrospectives and potentially things that I'm going to stream. But until then, it's bye for now.